Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the Upperbox Podcast. My name is Justin, and today with me is Paolo. Paolo, we have a very special guest today. What do you think about this?
Yeah, bro, I know. I'm excited for this one.
All
I haven't
right,
seen this dude in a while.
I heard he's one of your best friends in San Beda before.
Oh yeah, we used to play 2K. I hate playing against him in 2K because he is the most annoying player on 2K. I hate I hate his ass for doing that. Like,
Yeah, dude, I was
but
there.
yeah, no, he's one of my closest friends back then.
Yeah, I was there in his dorm room when you
Huh?
guys played, and you got trashed, dude.
Hey, look, man, the game is.
I will not confirm nor deny these allegations. But if somebody wants to look, just look at the tape.
All right, we're not gonna show him in video yet, but we are wearing his jerseys. I'm wearing his San Beda jersey, and you're wearing his Signal jersey. All right,
Signal, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls listening all over the world, we have a very special guest tonight. He is a two-time NCAA champion with the San Beda Red Lions. He wore the number 16 jersey, and he is known as Mr. Fourth Quarter. He has awesome three-point sharp shooting abilities. He played for the Alaska, Phoenix in the PBA, and Signal in the D League. Hailing from Los Angeles, California, Davon Potts.
What's going on, fellas? How you guys doing? I love the intro, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you. How are you,
Yeah,
dude?
man. We gotta show some love.
Absolutely, absolutely. I hope you guys are doing well, man. Stay blessed out there for sure.
Thanks.
Yeah,
So,
we're good.
to break the ice, I have one question. And I'm not sure if you're still following the NCAA currently, but the current defending champions are the Letran Knights, which are your arch rivals back
Mhm.
then.
Absolutely.
And yesterday, they just failed. They're out of contention for the Final Four. What do you think about
Mhm.
that?
Um, it's funny because recall, he was my former teammate on Alaska, and we always had conversations about, in regards to San Beda and Latran. Um, I have a lot of respect for Lutheran, to be honest, after, being away from the game a little bit more because I respect the fact that they were trying to do a lot of things traditional,
Mhm.
try to win the right way. But as every other program, everybody has their restarts and they have to start from ground zero. Not everything is forever in regards to winning every single year. They'll
Mhm.
bounce back. It takes time to bounce back in regards to you won and then all of a sudden you have to rebuild and restart the process and they'll be fine. I truly believe any team is beatable.
Mhm.
Um, any team is worthy of trying to get to where they need to be and winning a championship. That's the ultimate goal. So my personal feelings is that I feel like they can bounce back from it and do well. I want to see every team have the potential to be competitive and have the right to compete with anybody. So
But how was your experience with them while you were wearing the red and white?
my experience with the Tran, man. I remember when those guys when I believe it was a 6 peat follow. Was it they're going into their 6 peat after
Yeah,
before I run? So when they
yeah.
lost, I remember when they lost, I remember me and Robert Bullock were sitting for like literally behind the bench when it happened when they lost. And I looked at him, I said, excuse my French, but we're gonna fucking win next year. Like I just told him that. I literally looked out, so we're gonna win next year. Um, it was fun. It was fun because it was there's a lot of history. I mean, that's when the best games come out and the best, the best rivalries come out is the history behind it. There's just a lot of pride in both schools. So, but my experience with them, I mean, it was fun because I had the experience to play, against Nabatak at that time.
Yeah.
And Nabatak was one of my closest guys growing up when I was there. Um, I thought it was fun. Some other people take it personal, but me personally, like I love competition. I think it's fun. Let the best man win.
Bro, yeah, you mentioned that 2015 championship game. That was a gut punch. So, and I remember you talking about that like when we met after the games. Like I remember you saying, "Yeah, we're gonna win this. We're gonna
Yeah,
do everything that
yeah,
we can to win this." And Bolik was like, being Bolik is like he's laughing at shit, but you know, you wanted to win that too for Sambetta. Um, but yeah, those were really fun times. Um,
Absolutely.
so yeah, I guess we should get started with the other questions.
Okay, yeah.
So how did you get started with basketball?
I got started with
How did it all
basketball.
start? Yeah.
I got started with basketball when I was 3. I was living in Chicago. It was 1995. Michael Jordan was playing at that time. I remember clearly there was one particular moment where I was looking dead at my mom's eyes and I was like, I want to play in the NBA.
Mhm.
So at that time, I was living with my mom, my biological mom, and she let me go live with my biological father to pursue that dream. Right.
Mhm.
So that competitiveness was always within me. I admired Kobe growing up in LA when I went to LA. And my desire was, playing against older guys. I've always played against older guys growing up. So that was just more of that fuel to the fire. I didn't like playing against guys my own age. Um, and that's one thing I hate about the US when it comes to playing basketball is, we have to play against our own age. They try to limit things. They try to stunt the growth while you got Wembanyama and you got Luka Doncic playing pro at 14, 15 years old, right? I think that's something that we have to kind of look into in regards to things transpiring and progressing as a sport in itself, right? But early age and then playing against older guys and knowing that I didn't want to lose, um, that sparked my interest because
Mhm.
it was never really about winning or losing. It was about the journey in regards to how I did things, waking up at 4 in the morning to go work out before going to school. Because typically school starts at 7:30. Um, it was just the constant. How can I improve to get better? There's a certain sacrifice, right? It's all life lessons, and the life lesson was that if you really wanted to do something, you're gonna have to put in 60 or 80 hours versus the typical 40,
Yeah.
So it's that commitment. If you want to make that commitment, that's your choice, and some people make it, some people don't, but the love for the game is always going to be, is this really what you want to do? And this is how you're going to survive. And this is how you're going to make it. It's a choice that you have to make at very early age, because now you miss a lot of the childhood memories that other people want to do. Right. So
Yeah.
I loved every second of it. That's how it all started for me.
So you play like Euro style. You play with older guys your
Absolutely.
age. Damn. So
Absolutely.
you also mentioned that you grew up in Chicago and moved to LA. So would you say that your inspirations were Michael Jordan and Kobe?
Michael Jordan, absolutely, because that's when I was 3, and I vividly remember when I was watching, and I was actually literally sitting in front of the screen watching them. Like I
Mhm.
can clearly remember those days. And then going into, going into LA, and then Kobe being that person for us, that whole, that three-peat with Kobe and Shaq. But Kobe was different, man. Kobe's mentality was different. I mean, it's just different now with the players now because we're in an age where mental health is a big thing.
Mhm.
But Kobe had that I don't give a fuck who you are mentality, and I
Yeah.
loved it, and Paulo can actually defend me on this when it comes to my first year at San Beda. That's exactly how I was playing. I didn't care who you were. I don't care how you did it. I don't care what you did. I'm here to kill you. That's the mentality. That's I'm here to kill you and to let you know that I killed you, right? Because
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's as much as the talent was there, I'm gonna let you know about it because the game, as much as the game is talent, it was mental too. So if I felt like I had a mental edge over you, you're not gonna beat me.
Bro, I remember those Father Martin Cups games.
Mhm.
I was watching those, and bro, you were like talking shit. Like, you can't guard me. Who are you? Turn around. I can see you. Like, what's your name? What's your name? It's like,
it
God damn, this
I
this
think I
dude.
think it started I think a lot of it started to get a little bit they started looking at me differently when I started speaking in Tagalog and a
Yeah.
little bit more. And I think it was different because my accent, of course, was like, oh shoot, like this is different now. Like it was before. It was, a lot of them thought I was an import at first. I
Yeah,
remember
I
that when I
remember
first started, they
that.
were like, this dude an import? Like he's gonna be a guard for them? And they were like, no, he has Filipino blood. And he's like, and they're like, oh shoot. And then I got the whole bald image that I had, and I was, what I'm saying? So it was it was different, man. It was a whole different dynamic for people to see in an image space, and people painted that narrative that I was this bad guy, but then off the court, they're like, no, this dude's really nice. He's funny, but
Right.
it's business, man. It's business. When I'm on the court, it's all business. Everything after that, we're cool.
Yeah, dude, and
Yeah, totally
you were
different person.
he was a very exciting player to watch, especially after the team of Basera Mayor Ola Adiogun. It was a very slow, methodical team. Then when Davon and Bolly came in, it became an explosive team. It was very exciting to watch, especially when he pops after his 3 points. Dude, I would stand up every time, every damn time.
Yeah,
And
man.
but before we go to San Beda, Paolo told me that you played in the collegiate team in the US before going to San Beda. So
Yes.
how is it different between the US collegiate basketball scene and the Philippine collegiate basketball scene?
The US is a lot more athletic, right? We got the guys who are a lot faster, they jump higher. They're a lot more athletic individually. The Philippines is a lot more physical. Okay, so
Mhm.
that was something I had to get used to, and I'm actually fortunate that Sembeda threw me under the they threw me into the fire with that early on because I remember Bullock and our Noah,
You
uh,
know,
who else? Who else was there when they were just being really physical? And I remember my first week of practice, I was like, I don't think I can do this. I was like, oh shoot, this is different. And then I remember Coach Ford, I remember he sat down with me. He's like, if you're gonna play here, you're gonna have to get used to it. Even Bullock was like, you're gonna have to get used to this. I remember we were playing and like you said, Father Martin come. And what's so funny, Father Martin was actually when things like I was actually used to it because we had all these other different tournaments with Team B, and then I was still. It's so funny because I was playing like shit. I wasn't playing well, and it wasn't because I wasn't good. I just wasn't used to the style of play,
Mhm.
and when I started getting used to it, that's when things changed because I was like, okay, I'm getting used to the system. I'm used to. I'm not. The foul calls was actually more what I was getting used to because there's more foul calls in the U.S. than there would be here, or in the U.S. than there would be in the Philippines. So I had to just get adjusted to that. That physicality was different, and you expect certain calls. That was the biggest change, and then once I got used to that, I was good to go. It just that big change period.
Okay. But how are you able to suit up for the red and white? Like how did San Beda able to get you to scout you? And did you know
recruit
about
you
San Beda
basically.
even before coming to the Philippines?
So, Coach Jamike, I sat down with him. It's funny because I always go to Vegas. I was always going to Vegas for like training. And there was talks back and forth with Sam Beda in regards to how they wanted to structure me, but I was on a full scholarship, right? The thing is, playing on a full scholarship in the US is one of the biggest dreams that you can have. It's the percentage of getting a full scholarship in the US is very, very low, right? We're talking about a full scholarship, right? Not a 50%, not a 40%, like that everything is paid for. So I told him I was just like, it's not my time to go. But then I had a crossroad because if I wanted to play pro, and I said what I was noticing was a lot of Philams were not getting drafted high because nobody knew them.
Mhm.
So it was getting to a point where I was like, shoot, like what do I do? Because I want to play pro, but then I don't want to miss out on my education in this space.
Mhm.
So Jamike, I remember Jamike sat me down at the hotel. I remember Raj Tonka was there, I believe. Molcom was there, JV Molcom. And Jamike literally sat down in front of because those guys were the guys that were coming in next year and after the whole, Basser Mayor and all those
All that.
guys from that previous year. And Jamike was like, you come, you're gonna start and you're gonna play a lot of minutes. And I promise you that. So once he said that, I was like, oh shoot. I was like, okay. Because of course, I mean, you going over there doesn't guarantee you anything, right? That's what I was more nervous about was leaving a situation that I was okay with and literally jumping ship that I've never been to this. I've never been to the Philippines, right?
Mhm.
So yes, I have Filipino blood and I have Filipino family in America, but I don't speak the language, right? Um, there's just a whole, I'll be there by myself, right? So Jamike gave me that encouragement and he looked me dead in my eyes, a man, and said, hey, I'm going to start you. You're going to play and we're going to make this happen and we're going to win. I
Mhm.
was like, I'm good. I'm sold. So I didn't care who was other, I had out the nail in LaSalle, but my thing was that I understood that if a coach believed in me early on, I had that confidence to go in and not know what was going on. Because some teams hoard players, but they hoard players, but they have no intention to make them they have no intention to give them a career. I wanted a career, right? So and Jamike gave me that opportunity. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been able to be successful in that space for sure.
So, were you aware of the tradition of San Beda as a winning tradition, as a basketball rich tradition before you
I
came there?
knew I knew of it, but here's the thing is that even if I knew that you had history of winning, I already had a winning mentality myself. So that was the standard. So even if I went to another school, right? Or if I went to a different school or whatever, the same mentality is because everywhere I went, I've won.
Mm,
Hands down. I mean, it's not because it's not to, sound cocky. That's just that's my standard. If we don't have a chance to win, I don't want to be a part of it. Right? Even if you guys won nothing. I've been with a high school that hasn't won since they opened their doors 60 years ago. And I was the first team to do it, right? Because at the end of the day, it's always going to be about who is going to lead, who's going to have that responsibility, and who's going to bring them there. I'm that person. I didn't care. Like I said, I can take the slack. People don't like to be criticized. People don't like to be that bad guy in the eyes of people. The
mm.
thing is I'm gonna fight for my teammates. I'm gonna fight for what's right, and we're gonna win. And the thing is that as long as I stay healthy, and as long as we're staying healthy and we're focused,
Mm.
we can do anything. We can do anything. We can get far. The only time if we don't win is because there's too much going on. There's too much misdirection.
Yeah.
Everywhere I went, I won. I won in high school, I won in college, and damn near went to the finals in the pros, right? Like the thing is that you don't have to be that star player to be an impact on a team. That's what people forget. It's really always going to be that who's that person who can lead them there, right? So I felt like if I wasn't that person who was leading, we didn't win. It just because there's too much there's not that person who can be that catalyst for that team. If that person is not, you got to set an example on and off the floor.
Mm.
So and that's what I've done throughout my whole career.
Yeah.
And I just say, you hearing you talk like this brings me back to our times in Second Street. This is exactly how we used to
Yeah,
talk.
exactly.
Like, this is exactly how we used to talk. And it would
Exactly.
be between 2K or dinner or whatever we were up to. And we would just like talk about this shit. And I'm
Yep.
like, this brings me back, bro. Just gotta
Yeah.
say. Yeah.
Yeah.
This
And to piggyback off what you were saying, man, you were the first guy that was introduced to me. Like I said, I didn't have nobody. So when I saw you in red and like I said, I thank you guys for being there for me in regards to just my beginnings. And
Mm.
it was dope. But everything that I told you then, it's so funny because I told you it was gonna happen. That's what I told you. I said, we're gonna win. I was like, I'm not gonna sit there and debate it. We're gonna win. And I'm gonna do it very quietly.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
told
No,
you,
I
like
was watching you. I was
yeah,
watching you. I knew that you had that capacity to be able to win. But yeah, that's
it's
crazy how things
different
turn
to
out.
say it and then actually do it. That's scary.
True.
That's very
True.
scary. Trust me. That's very scary because when I know that it's gonna happen, trust me, I'm locked in. I'm locked in the whole way. There's no way. There's nobody who can stop me in that aspect. In
Yeah.
anything that I do.
And you
So
made your impact in your first year playing for the Red Lions, right? So
right.
after your first year, after your first championship, did any
Mhm.
other schools give you offers to play for them?
Honestly, no. It was the pros.
Oh,
It was
really?
the ABL. Yeah, it was the ABL. That's when things change. The ABL, I believe, was the Malaysia Dragons, from if I can remember. I believe it was. I was in a situation. I I'll be very honest. Like the second year that I had with Sam Bethel was terrible. It was absolutely terrible in my eyes, in the way my production was because we had Jamike obviously went in and left. And I remember I told Jamike, I was like, if you're not here, man, I don't think I should stay. And he told me to stay. He told me he was like, hey, this is gonna help your career. And to be honest, that was one of the worst decisions I made. I hated basketball at that time.
Mm.
It was we won a championship, but if you look at my face and my enthusiasm my second year, It just wasn't it.
It wasn't
It
the
just
same as the
wasn't.
first year.
It was not the same. It was not the same. I hated that year. I hated everything about that, like the whole signal situation in regards to um and we're talking about just me, right? I'm not talking about the companies. I love Signal. Signal was awesome. I felt like Signal was a great company. I felt like San Beda was a great school. I'm just talking about my situation from first year to second year. The
Okay.
system was just different. And the camaraderie was different. We had a lot of just it was just a lot of empty promises that I was promised will coming to my second year because of course I had other offers going overseas and it just it screwed me. But we'll talk about the draft aspect of it later.
Right.
That's kind of why I'm leading into that. So
Okay. So right now, San Beda is coached by, well, one of the assistant coaches is Norman Black. How do you feel about
man, man, they're lucky. They're lucky. Chris Newsom is my guy. It's funny because before COVID happened, Newsom was trying to get me over to Morocco.
it?
And the thing was is that I saw the way that he was, dealing with Newsom and Newsom being the leader, and Newsom was like, no, you'll love the system. This is a place where you want to be. And then I saw, just structure. I mean, of course, Morocco hasn't won because I mean we all know the PBA situation in regards to the winning situation and companies, but when it comes to Norman, I saw just structure of like how he structured a team. It was just it was great. It wasn't so one dimensional. It was
Mhm.
very multifaceted. It was different. It had a lot of flow. Um, those guys are lucky. I feel like I say this, I feel like when you get a foreign coach in the PBA or in, Philippine NCAA, UAP, that helps because that gives a different dynamic of what other people in other countries are looking at, right? What they're looking for instead of it just being one way. Because if we're gonna compete, especially with the national team going overseas, you want that. You want that different dynamic to kind of see like why is it that this country's winning or why is it that they're winning here? And we can bring that in and
Mhm.
now we can go out and compete with these other teams in different countries and we can be competitive and not have to get smacked by like 30 or 40 points because now we're so glued to just only things thinking one way.
Yeah.
So I love it. I love the fact that they brought him in because now, you know, you give the diversity. You give the thinking of all the teams that are going on and the way that he coaches. Now you have a PBA coach in an NCAA setting. Come on, man. You can't go wrong with that. That's
So,
beautiful.
given the chance, if you could play in the college league again, would you?
Mhm. Um, with him,
Yeah, yeah, with him as the coach.
absolutely, absolutely. Not, I mean, because here's the thing, because I saw Chris play, like, and I think me and Chris have a similar game. He's more athletic, of course, but I'm faster. You know what I'm saying? So I just know if he can use Chris Newsom in that way, and he's used him, and he's created this person out of Newsom over his career. I feel like me and him have the same kind of game. We score, we defend. Like I said, Chris is just more athletic, but I'm faster. So if he can flourish his career and he can win, I think he would have done the same for me. Because like I said, as long as we're winning, as long as we're all having fun, it's a great experience for everybody, for
All
sure.
right. How about let's go back to the NCAA. What do you
For
think
sure.
about the culture, the sound of the NCAA when you play? I know it's totally different because I have friends from the overseas who came to watch the NCAA. Uh,
Yeah.
like a month ago, players from Malaysia,
Yeah.
also Team B, a Team A from, oh no, Team B from San Beda, Brenko, if you know him.
Franco. No, that doesn't ring a bell for me. That doesn't.
He's now in Malaysia for Kings of the Court basketball, and he went
Nice.
with his crew to watch San Beda Letron game. And I asked this crew
Mm.
like, "What did you think about the NCAA?" And he said, "Dude, it's fucking different. It's loud. It's fun. It's rich." Now, when you came into the NCAA, and especially when you came to your first rivalry game, how did it feel? How was it different? Yeah.
I remember. So it's funny. I remember when we were the first game against Letran when we were in the Mall of Asia arena.
Mhm.
Um, I wasn't nervous. I think I was more of like, how is this gonna go? In my mind, I was thinking like, and it was. I kid you not, man. I remember going into that game, and I just remember one, two things. I can't hear nothing. Mike, if you saying anything, you're gonna have to pull me to the side and say something in my ear because I don't hear anything. Because in the States, there's no bands like that. There's no drum playing. There's none of that, right? I mean, they have the pianos and but they give respect to the players to communicate on the court. You can't communicate nothing. Jamaica's just gonna be over there just hey, with the hand signals on the side. And I was just like, okay, cool. That's all I can deal with, but that's fine. But anything in regards to anything with communication on the court, it's all hand signals. So I'm just saying, I'm literally like, I can't do anything. But if you notice in the first game, I'm yelling all the time because I'm like, that's the only way I feel like I could get heard or be seen in regards to my teammates getting hyped because I feel like that was the only way I can actually communicate. Because if something happened, I mean, they would know, shoot, oh, Davon's yelling, and I could see his expression. That's going to hype the whole team up. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but that was my first experience. And then the first game, I remember like just starting off a little slow, but of course we were winning. So, and then that's when that fourth quarter, I mean, people say miss the fourth quarter, man. People, if they knew me in high school, I was actually dropping 15 points in the fourth quarter to win, right? I've been doing that for a long time. Sometimes I would purposely start slow because I wanted to get my teammates involved.
Yeah.
So they can get comfortable and because I felt like if I can't do it, if something happens, at least they're confident to do something if I can't do it. But I've been doing that for a long time. If there was any people who watched film when I was in high school, man, I had college coaches from across the country just kind of watch and be like, oh crap, this dude went 15 for 17 and only missed 2 shots. Like that's scary. So once I'm in that zone, can't nobody knock me out of that zone for sure.
Yeah, dude. Paolo, remember whenever we're trailing behind at a third, and you're just gonna say, "Pare, na si Davon." It's Davon time. When quarter starts, it's Davon time. And when you score your first goal, your first basket, dude, everyone's just standing up. And then yeah, it's his time. It's Mr. Fourth Quarter time. It's Potts time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to share to the people who are listening to this how it is when me and Devon hang out before a big game. Is either we're playing 2K or we're hyping each other up. Like that's how it was. Like, God, I remember that Letran game. You were talking about that,
yeah.
and we were like talking about these
It's funny. It's funny because Paulo will actually give me a whole scouting report on other teams before I would go play, and I'll be like, because of course I'm new, so I'm like, I would be like, Nambatak, how is he? Like, oh man, he's a lefty. He scores. He's a slasher, and I'm like, okay, cool. How does I think Sydney Amumbere? Yeah, Sydney. Yeah, he was with was he with Mapo at that time?
No, he's EAC.
That's right. I'm tripping. I'm sorry. He was with EAC because he was dominant EAC at one point. Trying to think of others. Like I say, Ray was.
Alalon.
Halalon. Yeah, Halalon. Man, Halalon gave me problems. I'm not gonna lie. It's funny because that dude was probably the most physical defender I've had in a long time. If you watch the games I had against him, it was actually one of my best games, of course, when we played them. But Halalo, man, that dude, I love that dude. If he's listening, if he ever listens to this, I hope he does, and he knows. Like he'll probably hit me up on Instagram and be like, "Oh man, you always gave me problems in the NCAA, man. I couldn't stop you." And I was just like, "Yeah, I know."
Is he the hardest player to guard in college basketball?
It was between him and Ray Batak. Those two were dangerous. Like those, the reason why I say that Ray is slippery. Like what I mean by that is he's a sneaky scorer.
Mm-hmm.
He's very creative when he scores. Halalon, he's like a firecracker. I like giving like these guys like these like things because it helps me in my mind when I'm scouting. He's a firecracker, meaning he can score at any time.
Mm-hmm.
If he wants to score driving, he's going to score. If he wants to score 3-pointer, he's going to score. So Ray was more of that. He picks and chooses his spots, and he kind of knows like, hey, if I can get there at this time, they can't stop me. And then Halalon's like, no, just give me the ball, and I'm going to bulldoze you over. I'm going to score, right? So like, I just knew how they kind of played. But those two specifically, they were very hard to guard, very hard.
Yeah, so, and I remember talking to you about Nambata. The thing about
Yeah,
Tabata is he was a little bit more, more cerebral about his game,
right.
and the way he finishes, like he's
Exactly.
the way he finishes that basketball. That he's underrated. Like if you look at him, he doesn't look that strong, but he
Right.
can finish on
Right.
contact.
Right. And that was the scariest. I feel like Ray is the most underrated finisher that I've ever seen.
Mhm.
Like I'll give him his props. He is the most underrated finisher I've ever seen. And he has a smooth jumper for a lefty too, man. It was smooth. It was a smooth lefty. It was just he was smooth, man. I give him props. But Ray, just know you lost in the NCAA against me. That's all I gotta say about that. I'll give you a prop, man, but just know, man, when it came to the games, like I said, I'm gonna find ways to beat you. You may be nice, but I'm gonna figure out a way to beat you.
Hey, he does color now. He does color commentary for the NCAA on the side, dude.
Does he? Oh man,
Yeah.
tell him I said hi. The next thing you know, he's gonna
All
be like,
right.
oh man. It's funny because when I see these guys in person, it's all love, but then they're like, I hate you. And I'm like, I know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I hate you when on the court, but I love you off the court. I'm like, I know, I'm sorry. It just has
Yeah,
to be that.
because they're like when they get to meet you, they're like you're like a cool dude. But when they're playing against you, you talk mad spicy, bro.
Because I have to. We are not friends.
I know, I know. You're like, and they're like, I see players like have conflicted looks on their face, like,
Yeah, it's funny because
yes, what the fuck?
it's funny because a lot of these guys, they will want to talk off the court. And I'm like, any 60 minutes before and after a game, I don't know you. Sorry. We can
What do
meet
you usually
outside or
say on
whatever,
the court when you're guarding Halalon or Rain ng Batak? What do you usually tell them?
but well, on defense, well, let's just switch it up. If I'm on offense and I score and I was scoring against Ray, I'd be like, you can't guard me.
Yeah,
You can't guard
I've
me.
seen,
And
I
then
have
Halal,
seen
I
that.
remember there was one I was I told him I was like, all those muscles for nothing? Because he was strong. He was strong, man. Like that dude was strong. And I remember just those two times, and then I remember us talking about it after, and I was just like, man, I love you guys, but I had to let you guys know what the situation was.
So how would you trash talk players in Tagalog? Would you trash talk them in Filipino?
Oh, yeah, I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna go there. But the ones who know, they know. I'll let them dictate what I say. But yeah, I'm not gonna go there because it was. Let's just put it this way: you were speaking spicy to me in Tagalog. Don't think I didn't understand it. So I was just returning the favor. You
I
started it,
know.
I finished it. That's all.
If for those who are watching, if you guys want to see how like no filter basketball is, go watch a preseason game on Father Martin's. Go to an Arellano gym
Mhm.
where it's fucking hot as hell, but
Man,
you're just right in front of the players and you can hear everything. That's all I'm gonna
absolutely.
say. You're gonna
Yeah.
hear everything. You're gonna see everything. And for basketball fans who are into that kind of stuff, go watch a Father Martin's Cup game
Yeah.
or any of these preseason games because it's where it's at. Like
Yeah.
you can hear everything. So yeah,
Absolutely. Hands down.
All right,
I
let's go
love those
to
leagues.
what was your favorite memory playing for the Red Lions or playing in the NCAA? Like, what's the
My,
thing when you people mention the NCAA? It's the first thing that you remember.
the first thing I remember is that first year. That first year was memorable. Um, there was a lot of people telling us that we weren't gonna, win because now all the guys were leaving and they got drafted in the PBA. Um, that was Jamike's bounce back year because they had lost faith in him as a coach because of, losing the players and then losing that year
Mhm.
prior to us coming in. So that first year with all those new guys, Bullock and Malcon and Rash Tonko and no, Nice Reyes wasn't there yet. I think or he was already done. Noah, Who else am I missing? There's a lot of guys, of course, but there was just guys like we had basically a new team, and it was all those guys didn't have an ego. Even myself, we didn't have an ego to say, "Hey, we want to be." Oh, Dan Sada, shout out to Dan Sada, man, that's my guy. I haven't heard him talk
Donald.
about it. Yeah, Don Sada. He was our captain. He was our captain that year, my first year. But in all fairness, Dan Sada took. You know what? There was a why that first year was so memorable. Dan Sada took the most beating verbally by Coach Jamike because he was the senior. Jamike had a lot of high expectations for him, right? And Dan, you know, Dan had a lot of he had a lot of weight on his shoulders. Him being the veteran of the team, right? Um, and if there was any one player that I can say that, hey, you know what, thank you, Dan's one because he took a lot of what Jamike was saying. We're not talking about Jamike was, basically downgrading him or saying he's a bad player or whatever. But for example, if we lost, Dan was, he was the one taking a lot of the verbal. He was the one that was saying, hey, you should have done this. You're the leader. You should have. And I'm listening to him, right? Because I'm the first year. I'm just sitting there. I'm just listening to this. And Dan came in every single game and still performed, right? Did the best of his ability as a point guard for us. I have a bunch of respect for Dan after that year. And I had a bunch of respect for a lot of those guys because it's hard for a guy like me who's on the outside looking in, coming in from the outside looking in and being welcomed with open arms. It wasn't at first, but I had to earn that. That whole season was memorable because it was literally, can these guys win? And we had a bunch of pressure about that. But then, when players started knowing their role and how to do things, it was a beautiful season. It was a beautiful season all the way through. And we played all the way through. Like we didn't play like, oh, the first game was great. Our fifth game was so. Like we played tremendously that whole year. And that's why it was so different because you'll have players who are great, but then they want to take games off, right? That wasn't the case with us. And I made sure that didn't happen either. And that's the reason why I played like that. Because the thing is, if I didn't do it, right, then guess what? Other guys were going to slack off. It started with me, right? It had to. Because a lot of those guys were still new coming off that other team that, lost to Latran and they lost their whole roster. The whole starting five was gone.
Yeah.
We had a whole new team. So it was beautiful to see. And that first year, that whole first year was memorable. Minus, winning the championship that first year. That was crazy because we, against Arellano at that time. I don't know why people make fun of me when I say Arellano. Am I saying it right, Paolo? I don't know, man. Some people, I don't know, Matt. But Sinchan always made fun of me when it came to saying it. Like,
Hey, yo, shout out to Sincha. He's a coach now.
I know, man. That's what I'm saying. That whole first year, a lot of those first year guys are moving up.
I know.
It was a beautiful team. Like it was a beautiful situation. It was hard, but it was beautiful in regards to how we pushed through. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. So, and it worked out.
All right. I want to ask about you and Bolek's relationship. Like, how was it? Especially remembering when he goes beast mode, or especially against when you guys go against up LaSalle. He's on fire when you guys are up LaSalle. How was your
my
dynamics?
gosh.
Do you just
You thought I was a shit talker? Go talk to Bolek. And
Yeah.
he speaks fluent Tagalog. Oh my gosh. I remember we were playing in Signal. And of course, and we're back to NCAA and obviously the whole situation with LaSalle and things didn't work out. And he went to San Beda. Man, you want to talk about a shit talk, but he backed it up. He backed it up. He backed up what he said. And what's funny is that when Bullock first came, obviously we know that I was more of the screamer and I was more of like the hype man. Then that second year, he started noticing like, oh, Devon's doing it. I should do it too. And I'm like, oh, see, now I done woken up a beast now. See, now they changed. Now everything went 180. And I was letting him do it. I was just like, man, this dude's gonna kill it. So but me and Bullock, man, if I saw him right now, it would be all hugs. We would smile, we would laugh. That dude is funny. You want to talk about funny? That dude is hilarious. But that is one guy I will play for. If I ever had a teammate, man, dude, me and him were like, what's the duo? What would be a great duo for that in the NBA? It, ugh, it would kind of be like because he kind of plays like Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
Sorta, right? Like the style of play. He's more of a step back type of guy. He's like more left, right, shifty. Plays like Luka. And I was more of like just downhill. I play downhill. You know, I pick spots and play downhill. Like I use my speed to go downhill. So, but that man, me and him, that was more than just a teammate. That was like a brother to me, you know. So I was a little sad when he started unfollowing people on Instagram. So I was like, man, you know, I know you want to go down that route, but when he started following people on Instagram, I was like, man, I feel like I lost a brother. So if you ever hear this, Bullock, you know, you can hit me up on the DM, man. I know you a married man now, but golly, you ain't gotta ice me out, man. We was brothers.
Oh, he's gonna be a father soon, right?
Huh?
Yeah, he's gonna be a
father
dad.
soon.
He's gonna be a dad.
Yeah, he's gonna be a dad. He's gonna be a dad soon. So, you know, I miss that man. You know, of course, you know, life takes its turns and we all have to kind of do things and we all have different responsibilities. But that was Bullock, man. That was my boy. Like I can go to blows with that guy as a teammate. Like I would play if there was only one person I'll play forever with, that would be Bullock for sure. Bullock was my guy.
Remember when that remember that I don't know if it was a preseason or if it was BCCL when he
Yeah.
absolutely smoked LaSalle
Oh,
and he
okay.
was
So
like talking so much shit
who
on
was
the
the
bench.
who was the point guard? Who was the point guard for LaSalle at that time? Do you remember?
I think it was Kid Montalvo, if I'm not
No,
mistaken.
not Talvo. Not Talvo.
Uh,
It's not
LA
Talvo.
Revilla? LA
No,
Revilla?
no. Nope. It wasn't Revelia. Shoot. He was the point guard for LaSalle, and we played them in Signal. He was playing with Jerome Tang, the
Hmm.
in Signal. When we were playing Signal,
Almond. It was Almond.
was it Almond? Are you sure?
I'm thinking it was Almond.
Wait, let
Yeah,
me
like I said
Google.
that was a point. He was a point guard coming in with Ben and Bala, with Norbert.
I gotta see a face. I gotta see his face because let me just say this. When Bullock when Bullock was in the D League and we played against the point guard, because this was the transition when Bullock came from LaSalle, right? This is the whole Jerome Tang thing that happened. Shout out to Jerome. That's my guy too. But obviously when it came to Bullock coming out of LaSalle going to San Beda and we met up in the D League, he literally looked at when I think he scored an and one and he said, fuck you, see no more. See no, I was like, oh shit. Like my face was like, oh shit. I was like, oh damn. I was like, this dude's going this dude took a page out of my book. And then I was like, oh shoot. He took a page out of my book. And then next thing you know, like I said, Bullock has changed. I feel like Bullock changed that what my second year, Bullock changed his whole game. He changed it. I feel like it wasn't his game, he changed his whole mentality of the game. He started noticing like the things that I did, it worked. And then he was like, okay, well, if I can back up what I'm doing, then I'm gonna do it too. So it was, yeah, but he when he said that and I was like at the 3-point line, you should have saw my face. I was like, oh shoot, that's something I would have said.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah, I remember that.
It's so funny.
I remember that preseason when he absolutely smoked LaSalle, and
Yeah,
I think he won
man.
the game winner. Bro, he was like
Yeah.
talking so spicy. Against the whole fucking bench of LaSalle.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Hey, rightfully so. Rightfully so. Here's the thing. If you can back it up, you have the right. You have the right to say what I wouldn't say whatever you want, but you have the right to back up the things. Basically, they ditched him, right? They weren't playing him,
Hmm.
right? They thought he was a worthless talent because they felt like there was other people that were better than him. Guess what? Bullock made the decision I made, right? Go to a school that appreciates you, go find a home, and find a team that will embrace you, and you go kill everybody. That's what me and him were talking about. That's what me and him talked about before before we were teammates, right? That's why me and Bullock were so like our relationship was so great because we started that whole thing together. And mind you, we didn't really know each other. right? Me and him were still kind of like, oh, because we're still competing for spots. But once we started understanding, hey, you know what, we're about winning, and everybody knew me. Like they were like, hey, do your thing. But I told him, I said, I'm here to win. I'm not here to be like, hey, let's go. Let me get 30 points and let me get drafted. I felt like I was already going to get drafted regardless. It was just more of, this is what we're going to do and we're going to win. But Bullock, man, shout out to Bullock, man.
Dude. Right. Still in the LaSalle game. This was a hyped up game because everybody knows it's the UAAP, NCAA. People would always say that the UAAP is better. But you guys
Right.
showed that you guys are better. And
Right.
you guys were up against Alden Ayo, former coach of Letran, and Ben
Yes.
Mbala. And Ben Mbala was so hyped up. But
Yeah.
how was it going up against Big Ben and Coach Aldrin in another team?
Ben was a football player. I thought Ben was an American football player playing basketball. He was.
He looked
You
like a
weren't talking
DN.
about. Oh my gosh! When you see him in person, you're looking at him like, why are you here? Like, you should be playing football. Like, you're not normal. Like the way you jump and all this stuff. I'm like, you are too athletic. And yeah, playing against Ben, playing against Jerome's strong too, man. Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, because I had him as a teammate too. I played against him growing up, but I have him as a teammate at Alaska. That dude's strong, and people underestimate his strength. And I felt like going against Jerome, again, going against Ben being a beast. I mean, of course, but it's just crazy. I remember playing against those guys, and it was just a whole different dynamic, man. Like those guys were sort of a pro team. They could have played against some PBA teams and probably competed pretty well. That's how good they were. And for us to kind of go in and beat them, that just showed that, yeah, we didn't have the size, but we had the personnel. We had me, we had the Bullock, we had the JV Mocon, we had Donald, or am I saying his name right? Donald Temple?
Yeah. Donald Tanko. Yeah.
I'm sorry if I'm messing up the names. I've been out the scene for a minute, but when we had those guys didn't care about that. They cared about winning, right? That's where the things change, because now it's not stats. It's about the W. It is about the W and the loss. When guys start thinking about their stats and start thinking that it's always about me, that's when things start to change, right? So Sal have money. They have money, and they can pay players all they want, right? Sam Bethel didn't have that. So it's a different pride. It's a different dynamic, right? It's like Duke playing against, I don't know, Duke playing against what's a team that people would know? Chicago State. Who's Chicago State? Right? They know Sam Bethel, but Sam Bethel, like you said, and coming from the NCAA, they think it's not competitive until they play us, right? Because everything in life about UAP and NCAA is always going to be about marketing. Who's going to put the more money up to market this, right? NCAA is not as marketable, but guess what? There's more PBA players from the NCAA than there are the UAP.
So you think
right?
NCAA is more competitive?
I think the NCAA is more physical. I think it's more physical. I think the UAP is more marketable. They have more money. They have more money there. But that's why I can't say one is better than the other, because it fluctuates, right? It can go. It can say NCAA can be great this year, and the UAP can be here, and then it's vice versa, right? So each year changes based off of teams, based off of marketing, but statistically, NCAA has more PBA players. There's your answer, right? So I go by facts. I don't go based off of what I feel. I go off facts. I know that's a fact. So if we're gonna go based off of NCAA versus PB or NCAA versus UAP, NCAA has more PBA players. So there's your answer.
All right. How is it playing with Donald Tankua? Other FSA, other foreign student athletes, they're loud, like Ben Mbala. Ola is a hype man, but Donald, he's a quiet dude, right?
Yes.
Before you start, Davon, I remember having a conversation about this with you. It's like, hey, Davon, how are you, Davon?
Man,
that's how soft and low that man's voice was. And I was like thinking in my mind, how the fuck are you gonna communicate with him on the court? like with his voice. Like I have never heard him shout ever. I haven't even seen
You
him
know what?
laugh loud.
I heard him shout one time on the court. I think maybe once or twice. The
Mm.
one time he did it was when he dunked on that breakaway in Lutheran. That was the first time. Yeah,
Yeah, I remember. I
and
remember.
the way he yelled, it was like, "Ah!" I was like, I don't like that yell, but okay, we like it. Like, I don't like the yell part, but okay, good. But then, off the court, he'll pull me to the, hey, Davon, you want to get some food? I'm like, you want to get food? Is that what you're asking me? Because I can't hear you. He's like, yeah, and I'm like, all right, let's go get food. I'm like, God, leave. But yeah, he's quiet. He's quiet, but he's a beast. He's a beast down low. Because he's not a Ben and Balla, but what he does really well is he knows how to routinely get into spots and position himself well. That's what he does really well. He positions himself really well to make him successful for setting screens and scoring underneath. That dude was great and shooting an occasional 15-footer. So he knew how to pick his spots. Man, Donald, I love Donald too, man. Donald just played. I remember when he tore his ACL that year. Paolo, he tore his ACL. And it's so funny because he was like, no, I want to keep playing. And then Jamike was the one that told him, no, you're not playing. Donald told the team he wanted to play. He was like, hey, I'll play on a torn ACL. And in my mind, I was like, if he wants to play on a torn ACL, that just shows you how much he wanted to play for the team. Trust me. Like people who want to tear ACLs, they're like, no, forget this. I'm sitting down. I'm going to get. That's how much he wanted to play for that team that first year. He was like, no, I want to play. And that's where Jamike was like, no, you have a future. I want you to focus on your career. I want you to focus on school. We're going to sit you out. Telling you that first year with Jamike was different. It was such a different, it was a different team. It was different in a good way. So.
Here's the weird, like, here's the fucked up part about this too.
Yeah.
Like, not to make fun of what happened to Donald. He didn't shout when he tore his ACL. That's how quiet he was. Like, but
yeah,
he never shouted. I remember that injury, and I'm like, he grimaced, but he never shouted.
Right.
But here's the thing about Donald too. I think out of all of the foreign players, well, outside of Bright Equity from Perpetual,
Right.
he was the guy who could actually make a that could defend Ben and Balla somewhat because he was physical too. Nobody really watched him how physical he was. He was physical too, and coming off the screen, bro, he gave up a lot of hard screens. I remember.
Yes, he did. Oh my gosh, he did. Yes, he did. Like Donald was very underrated. He was a very underrated import for the whole NCAA. If anything, in the whole college scene, he was very underrated. And I feel like a lot of it being underrated is because he doesn't talk. Like he doesn't show emotion. He just does his job. And I remember, man, do you remember the times I would get hype and I would want to chest bump the dude? The dude would try to hug me. Like that's who he was. He was trying to hug me while I was trying to chest bump. And I was like, yeah, Donald. He was like, oh, let me hug. I'm like, no. I'm like, why are you trying to hug me? There was like, I think I have a picture of that too. I have to find it. Oh my gosh. He was just trying. I was like, man, I told him, I said, in this scenario, Donald, let me sit you down, sir. In this scenario, if I ask you to give me a chest bump or, go high, the only person that did it right probably was Robert Bullock. I mean, if you notice, me and him did it all the time.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Donald, I had to sit him down like, man, when I ask you a chest bump, I'm telling you to jump and like chest bump me, not hug me. It's like, okay, my bad. I'm like, all right, man, cool.
Yeah, I love Donald. Like he was. That team had a lot of characters, though.
A lot. It was a lot. That's why it was so fun because you had Bullock, you had Donald, you had JV Mokon, the pretty boy to a certain extent. You had Raj Tonko, the model / play basketball player. And JV's gonna laugh because he knows if I told Bullock this is like, man, JV was trying to do modeling and play basketball at the same time. Kudos to you, man. It worked out. So
and I remember like we were talking about this when you got home from the training in the US. Those pictures of Robert when you guys were training.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can find that. I remember a picture of him. He posted this. Not nobody else. He posted this of him butt naked, like in public. And I'm like, oh God, this guy's different.
No,
This
no.
dude
Well,
is different.
that's what I'm saying is that we had so many different characters on that team, but guess what? The one common goal was winning. But the
I
one thing
know.
I know about, if you know it's a Robert Bowler picture when everybody's like this and he's like to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
side, he has the side view. Like
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like
I
this
know.
dude, man. This dude is just a character. But you know, that's who we were, man. It was so fun. It was fun. We had a bunch of different characters on the team. Not everybody was the same. So
All right. So you won 2 championships. Now it's draft day for the PBA. How did it feel
yeah.
to finally get drafted and play professionally?
I had mixed emotions, not gonna lie. I had mixed emotions. One, I thought I was gonna get drafted higher.
Mhm.
So this is gonna be a story about, hey, you had a player. I'm not saying I was the greatest player in the world, right? But you had a great player who has a lot of potential and who could have made a great career, you know, this minus COVID happening, right? Um, but it didn't work out. So the thing is that going into the draft, why I say I had mixed emotions is because for one, I thought I was going to get drafted higher. That's just the expectation. Second is I got drafted to Alaska. Blessed, I was blessed, but you know, you know, I thought I was going to go higher.
Mhm.
And I started seeing, you know, a lot of the things where people were like, man, Davon, like people were actually like, wow, like this dude's going lower. And it kind of built that narrative like, oh, he's not as good as we thought he was.
Mhm.
So it started building more into that narrative, like, hey, this dude is, you know, not what we think he is or whatever. But I come to find out that draft night, I had 3 coaches come to me, and one of them being Phoenix,
Mhm.
coincidentally, right? At that time. I'm not gonna name names, but he came up to me and he apologized because he drafted Ray, I believe. He drafted Ray Nambata.
Mhm.
And I was like, you drafted Ray? Like I was killing Ray in the NCAA, right? Like it was weird. It was like, but then I come to find out that my second year coach at in college was talking bad about me before the draft. So all these coaches were like, hey, I don't think we want to deal with them. And I felt like that's why I hated my second year because I felt like I was being misunderstood.
Mhm.
Right. So it was being misunderstood. It wasn't like it was a lot of gaslighting.
Mhm.
And Paulo knows this because I told him about a lot of different things about what was going on that second year. I was not happy.
Mhm.
And I kept it professional. I did what I was supposed to do. I did my two leagues in the D League. And that mixed emotion was I got drafted, I'm happy, but now it's like is anybody really gonna believe like what I can do? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, is that going to happen? Right? Because now it went from the first year, I'm killing it, to the second year. Okay, I took a step back because now me and coaching staff are not getting along because I have this higher expectation of what we're supposed to do, right? And um I felt like I was not being heard. I felt like there was a lot of things that were just being swept under the rug, and it was just like, man, like what's going on, right? So, um, I was happy because now I got drafted to a team that I felt like that had the brotherhood, right? That you know morally that was at that time. But then I was disappointed because I felt like, hey, if I dedicated my time to you guys, right? I chose to come back here, and then for certain people on certain coaching staff to talk bad about me
Mhm.
going into the draft because we just didn't see eye to eye. I felt like that was unfair. You know, if as a man, if you're going to do business and you're going to talk and we're going to handle things, don't tell me one thing in my face and then next thing you know you want to do these other things, right? Because the first thing was you know, it was because I felt like I made the ultimate sacrifice to let Bolick and all these other guys still continue doing what they're doing because I was done. I was the only one leaving,
Mhm.
right? So again, as long as we were winning, which we were, right? And I took that back seat so these other guys can flourish.
Mhm.
So, you know, it put a dent in my mentality with that whole thing, my whole process. It was it was exciting, but I remember seeing every name from the first round going down, and I'm like, everybody was like, "You're gonna go first round."
Mhm.
Then it kept getting lower, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, "What the fuck is going on?" Right? I'm like, "What the hell? Like, what happened?" You get what I'm saying? So it hurt. Like it hurt. It hurt. But then I felt like I had a lot to prove, and then but at the same time, I feel like the lower you're getting, the more like the team is not giving you that same respect when you do go into the team and still do what you need to do, right? So I felt like draft night going in, it put a dent in my career because now it's like that's the business that these students need to understand, right? We can talk about how things were, oh, this is Mr. Fourth Quarter, but now I'm back, you know, I'm not playing basketball no more, right? So we can talk about, Mr. Fourth Quarter going into getting drafted and understanding that these careers are not longevity, right? Let's be honest. Even in the pros and the NBA, the average career is 3 years,
Mhm.
right? So this is the reality of what guys got to understand about how you could want to do something your whole life and it may not work out.
Mhm.
That's okay. It doesn't mean you failed, right? The thing is that you did something that the less than 1% can do in this whole world. You did it, right? Now the thing is that when you do it, you have to make sure you cherish that moment, work your tail off, because when you're done, at least you can look back and say, I don't have anything else to prove to nobody. I don't
Mhm.
have anything else left in me, right? So that was the biggest thing from that takeaway on draft night, even to now. I was grateful, a little disappointed, but that taught me a life lesson in knowing that, hey, you thought you were gonna have this storytelling career,
Mhm.
right? This storytelling career and getting drafted high and having a 10, 15-year career like some other guys do, but it didn't work out.
Mhm.
So, and that's okay. So I was excited, I was happy, I was disappointed, all the above. Um, but overall, I'm glad that I got drafted to a team that had, we had high values in regards to what we were doing, and and things just moved and things took off from there. I mean, when I played my first game, with Alaska, after so many times sitting out my first all Filipino conference,
Mhm.
um, I came in and killed it. Right. That's the thing. And we were winning when I started playing a little bit more. I wasn't scoring the same way I was playing in San Beda, but again, I'm a rookie, right? And a second round rookie that a lot of the guys probably I have to earn my stripes. So, things happen, man. Things happen and things happen the way it's supposed to happen because, it gives you direction on where you need to go in life. So,
Hey, but from one Bedan to another, like I'm a second
mhm.
generation Bedan. My dad's a Bedan. We always watch the
Nice.
games, and we're always
Nice.
thankful for you, man. Like Devon is a Bedan. We're proud to
Yeah,
have
man.
you in the team, and we're happy that we're talking to you now, dude. So
Yeah, man.
for the San Beda community, the community loves you.
Appreciate
Everybody
you
can
guys.
say that.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. So what made you stop playing professional? Wait, let's go back first to how was it different now? NCAA going to the professional leagues of the Philippines. How is it different? How did it feel like? Is it quieter because there's not no drums like the NCAA?
Um, what's different, I feel like what's different is the dynamic of, hey, everybody's a star. Everybody's good, right? Um, everybody's good, and you have this sense of, like, when I was playing, I was like, okay, I'm good, but do I fit? Like, am I gonna fit in this system? Am I gonna fit in with these players, right? Because now we're dealing with a whole different system. But from the NCAA going into my biggest advice is lift weights, man. You're gonna need to lift weights. There's no way around it. I mean, I wish there was somebody who just, I was strong and I was fast, but when you're dealing with the physicality of it, right? When you're getting elbowed and people don't see the elbows because you're not seeing what's on the floor versus the contact you're seeing in the you're seeing on, in the stands, because it's a whole different thing, right? You need to learn how to lift weights and learn to love lifting weights, right? That's one. Second is, you know try to learn how to balance out, because people try to dedicate their whole life to basketball. Like, just study the game, but don't get too obsessed with it, because at the end of the day, you got to have that work life balance, is what I call it.
Yeah.
um
You have Paolo
you
to
need
study the game for you.
Yeah, man. That's what I'm saying. I had asked Paulo a lot of questions when it came because I was like, I don't know how these guys play. I know they're good, but I have to really because that's how I came in prepared. And that's all I was like, hey, if you can tell me how they play and how they do, because he was here. I mean, he's been here, watching his whole life at that point. So I was like, okay, cool. And that was beautiful for me because of course we in college you don't really scout. You scout, but it's not like it's not detailed the way it is in the pros because you have to do like, for example, does this person like to go right? Does this person like to drive left? Does this person like to shoot on this wing? Does this person have a greater percentage shooting on this corner three? There's so many different dynamics when you get to the pros, and that's where things change because um, now everything isn't about talent, it's about mental, because everybody's talented at that point. Everybody. So at that point, when everybody's talented, okay, what separates you from can you beat that person to this spot? Can you beat that person to going here and going there? It's all about who can get there first and how are you going to get there? Are you going to get there through physicality, speed, um, trash talking to a certain extent, right? There's just different things that in the pros that you have to be more witty about instead of just saying, "Oh, well, I'm good. It's just gonna happen." No, it doesn't work like that because everybody's good.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
taking that
and
once, go ahead. Mhm.
sorry to cut you off the one, but
No,
yeah,
go ahead.
to like really emphasize that point. Um, Sometimes you don't know what happens with college and then pro. Some really good players doesn't really work out in the pros, and some players really blossom in the pros. I think one of the best examples was Scotty Thompson.
Mm,
Yeah.
Scotty
mm,
was good, but we
yeah,
didn't know he was this
yeah.
good.
That's well. Let's back up. Let's back up on that one because
Okay,
we didn't know he was going to be that because he was on a team that allowed him to be that. That's the difference,
that's the
right? So that's
difference.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying. If he did that on Kia or Terafima or whatever the name are is, because they change their names every year, they probably wouldn't care, right? And that's
Yeah.
the difference is that it's you have to go like the Jamaica situation. You have to go somewhere where they will allow you to prosper
Mm.
because you can be talented, but if you don't have the management, you don't have the marketing, you don't have the things that back up that talent, it's just sitting there. It's a sitting duck. Like that's the biggest thing about why it gets a little bit frustrating with talent. And that's why you have to love the game because you love the game. Now, if you love the game because you want to be famous, you want the money and you want, extracurricular activities that are going on outside, you're gonna lose the love of the game, honestly. Because now you're not playing because you want to wake up at 4 a.m. You're not playing because you want to go and study film. You're not playing because you want to inspire kids. You're playing because you're being selfish. You're being greedy. That's the difference, right? That's where things change. So when you get an opportunity to go play where you are supported, things change. That's where your career blossoms because now things change in that dynamic. But then your true character shows when things don't go your way. So
Mm.
there's a big difference in that.
Yeah, that's
All right. So I think one final question for me, like,
Yeah.
what do you think of the Gilas national team, and what do you think of Jordan Clarkson going there? And would you play for the Gilas if given a chance?
I would have loved playing for Gilas. Obviously, that wouldn't have been a factor for me. Well, not a factor. It wasn't a choice for me because my citizenship, or I think it was the ruling of getting your passport before 15, that was out the window, right? Um, flag and country is where it's at, right? I would choose flag and country. Jordan Clarkson can say the same thing. I would choose flag and country any day versus the United States. The pride, the history, the the energy, the love of the game, it's genuine, right? Um, you put that on your chest and you put that on your back, you put that on your front, the front of your jersey, and you put your last name on. That's something you can pass down to the next generation and they would actually appreciate it. They would genuinely appreciate that. That would be history that somebody with Filipino blood would always cherish and literally hang up for hundreds of years.
Mhm.
I can't speak for other countries who would appreciate that, right? So going with the national team, that's why I it's sad because there's so much talent that they got to stop doing it to where, I mean, I know Sol Mercado and those guys touched up on it on their podcast. If we can stop having these companies compete, like, oh well, my players from this company are going to go play, and my company from my players from this company are going to go play because I said so. We would do 10 times better because now you have talent that's not playing because, oh well, upper management is telling people down there and coaching staff what to do, right? So say I don't play anymore, I can say these things. Like the people who are playing, they can't say these things because now you're stepping on toes, right? Because now you've got an upper boss that's paying you to basically shut up and perform.
Yeah.
Now I'm not in that boat anymore, so I can say these things, and that's why I vouch for players. Because why do you think players are going overseas now? They're going to go play in Japan and Korea because they don't want to be in a position where, okay, I'm going and being loyal to you guys, but you guys are treating me like slaves.
Mhm.
That's a problem, right? That's a big problem. You should never be in a situation where you feel like, hey, I'm giving my talent, my blood, sweat, and tears to a country and a company, and they want to use me when it's convenient for them. Like that's a huge no. Because the thing is that I'm the one who's representing your company and the country. You guys are sitting on chairs watching this, right? You guys are not performing this. So treat me with respect, the same respect that I would repay you. Don't look at me as a performer and then expect, oh yeah, well, you know, dance or shoot and dribble when I tell you to, and then you want a different result, right? The thing is that when you're performing in these companies, the ones who have billions of pesos and billions of dollars, whoever's funding this stuff, they got to understand because see, the ones who have the billions of dollars, they never played. They never played. They never played, right? So they never played. They know they've seen it, but they don't know what the day to day is. Oh, they think, oh, we can practice 2 hours and call it a day. Why do you think there's a reason why we can't go outside? There's a reason why we can't do things and we can't. Why do you think there's so many different dynamics of certain things and why we are paid hundreds of thousands of pesos versus the 20 to 30,000 on a roughly basis, right? The thing is that there's a different responsibility in that job. That's a different dynamic. So when you're given the opportunity to go play for Gilas, like I said, that is the ultimate. There's a reason why Jordan himself playing, and like I said, even Chris still stayed with the team. Chris Newsom stayed with the team after getting cut. There is some history. There is some pride in that, right? Not because, oh, he wants to look good and it helps him. Chris is almost at the end of his career, right? He doesn't have to be there. He wants to be there because this is something he can pass down to his children, his family in 100 years. And like I said, I know even myself or my significant others, they would hang my jersey up for years in Rosario Cavite. That's pride. They wouldn't do that here in the US. I guarantee it. They'll never do that here. So when you have that sense of just history and pride in that it gives that your heart is in a different place and you know that it's coming from a genuine place that you want to play for flag and country and you want to kill other countries and let them know, hey, we're here. We're on the up and coming. We're here to compete. We're not here to just play, the US of A, right? And get smacked by 40 and think it's okay. No, we want to compete. We want to be respected. So if we can find ways to get respected with other countries and not have other countries look at it, well, they're the Philippines, it's going to be a cakewalk. That's where things change. Things will change, but like I said, this is a battle of companies. The PBA has always been a battle of companies. Who can pay more? Who has more money? We gotta stop that, man. Like the fans know what's going on. The fans know how to deal with this. They know that's the reason why a lot of them know why players are going overseas. You want Gilas to get better? Stop putting this into a situation where we are limiting players to, oh, we have to cap them to this. Because guess what? You're not going to get the best out of players doing that. It's not going to happen. Then you want to translate into Gilas, and then you want them to perform in Gilas, but you're capping them in the PBA. Come on, man. Doesn't work. Doesn't work.
And I remember we were talking about this when we were here, like about Gilas. Like you've always been clear, bro. I would really love to play for Gilas. Because
Absolutely.
you were right. I think the culture, people's mindset on Gilas, it's the most sacred thing in Philippine basketball.
Right.
You screw with everything else. You can screw the professional teams. You can screw with PBA. People will not give a fuck. But if you
Right.
start screwing with Gilas, that's when fans are like, no,
No.
get your act together.
That's
Because
true.
because that's sacred. It
Yes.
it's something that no, I don't think few countries in the world have that kind of mindset. You can do whatever you want in the pros, but produce in Gilas because that's pride in country. Um, and yeah, no, to piggyback on what you said, like I've just been feeling like with the Gilas program. And I've been also listening to Soul and Jared's podcast.
Right.
I feel that we can be top 10 in the world with the amount of talent we have. We do. We
Man.
there are too many good players in this country.
Man. Too many.
Too
Too
many,
many.
bro.
Too many.
You're telling me that Robert Bollick's not gonna light some of these countries up? You're telling me
Exactly. Exactly.
Dwight Ramos not gonna light anybody's like come on, man.
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
let's
That's
be
what I'm
honest
saying.
here.
That's the problem. And that's the thing is that since they are not a part of the companies that are funding this stuff, right? And they kind of chose their own route and they feel like the companies feel like they're outsiders to what's going on. They don't choose them.
Mhm.
They choose the people who kind of committed to, hey, I want to be in this company and I'll do everything you say and I will do, you know what I mean? Like it changes,
Yeah.
right?
And the problem with that kind of system, it ends up with, you know, Gilas just throwing all of these players together whenever there's a need.
Yeah, and
Like
that's
it's not gonna
yeah,
it's not gonna work because a lot of
yeah,
these teams, they spent so much time together, they know how each other play. Like
absolutely,
like
absolutely.
some of these teams are not the most talented, but because they've spent so much time together, they are way better than they should be at times.
Absolutely. And that goes back to the Sambella, right? Because you can beat anybody as long as you have the best chemistry in the world for them to play together and coexist, right? You can put all the talented guys together. We've seen guys talented in multiple teams, right? But it's just the problem with that is again, if you don't have that chemistry and you guys are not on the same page, you guys are not going to win, man. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I've seen it time and time again. I've been on teams where, again, teams are literally not on the same page and they're just like, I'm just here to get a paycheck. I'm good, right? It changes, right? It changes the whole dynamic of everything that's going on with the way winning is out the window at this point. It's more of, hey, I'm just going to put this on my back and put the flag and country on my chest. But let's just make this a social media thing, and then that's it. It's more to it than that, man. It's way more to it than that. So, and I hope things change for them in regards to how they structure it. I mean, Chris Newsom, if we're being frankly honest, Chris Newsom, if you want to look at somebody who got cut, stayed with the team, wanted to be there, and ended up being a great performer for them to win gold. That should already tell you it never is about talent. There's other guys who are talented than Chris, for real, and he knows that. That's why he still stayed in regards to, hey, I'm not here to be like, hey, I know I'm talented. No, he wanted to be there, right? So it's always going to be, and I know whenever they dissect and sit down and say, who do we need? Who's going to be our roster for this national team? You got to sit down and actually understand. You got to sit down and actually understand, hey, this person works well with this person. This person works well with this person. It's not going to be 100% great, but I'm not going to put 3 guards of the same caliber on the same team. It doesn't work. You got to find that this guard is a shooter. Okay, boom. We got this guy who's a driver. He's going to create. Okay, boom. We got this guard who can pretty much do it all. Okay, boom. Like this is why the structure of, hey, we need to find players who mesh well together because they're all good. They're all good. We all know that. But I can't have 3, not being offensive or anything. I'm not shooting anybody down, but we can't have a 5'9" point guard and a 5'11" point guard think that we're going to compete against 6'5" point guards.
Mhm.
I mean, come on. Like, well, this is the thing that we have to understand. Like, we can't. It's just we gotta put two and two together in regards to how we actually structure the whole team, because it's important, So that's down the line. I mean, like I said, I'm pretty sure they didn't have any like that size recently, but I'm talking about just previous years, right? And because I've seen it, and it's just once they get that part down, everything will move forward. But like I said, that's a stretch. It's just more. It's always going to come down to, hey, who can structure this stuff and actually get it done. So,
All right. How about your advice for the current San Red Lions? They performed well in the first round of the NCAA this season. Only losing 2 games, right, Paolo? Then
Yeah, second round. We lost Arellano and San Sebastian.
okay.
Uh,
so like
Damn, audio.
yeah, not a
and
good start for the second round. What would be your
yeah,
advice for this new team? I think they're championship caliber, to be honest with. If you've seen Jomel Puno play, if you've seen Cortez play, dude, I've stopped watching
Who's the one that got bloodied up? Who's the one that got? I saw that one. Who's
Alfaro.
the one? That,
Peter
Paolo?
Alfaro.
You know what? I think I've seen him play in that gym before. I think if some of those guys probably know me from when they would actually sit in the gym and just watch us.
Hmm.
I don't remember them specifically because they weren't with the team yet and they were still kind of like going to school and preparing. But
No, I think it
the
wasn't
one,
when he was a Red Cub when he was in high school.
that's right. That's who it was. Okay,
Yeah.
boom. Hey man, with the one who got bloodied up and he came back and played,
Yeah,
keep doing that.
he's the
Okay?
captain.
Because
He's
I
the
would have
current
done it.
captain right now. Yeah, Peter.
One who got bloodied up. I'm not good with names. I'm sorry. Like if you're watching this and I'm telling you, take a minute to listen to what I'm telling you. You doing that, right? Did not look. I remembered that, and I don't really watch you guys, right? I remembered that because when I saw that on Instagram, I was like, this dude has heart, right? This is what people need to see. We don't need to see the glitz and glamour of the game. We need to see what a true character, a high caliber guy is.
Hmm.
He set the tone in regards to, hey, I will go to blood. I will go to blood for the team, for my teammates. I'll go to blood for the school, right? That's what you need. And in regards to advice to those guys, you have to know when you're playing, that could be your last game. That's it. That could be your last game. I've seen guys tear ACLs. I've seen guys die on the court, right? I've seen guys who've been in positions where um in the US where they got shot and they didn't know if they were going to come back and live again, right? These are facts. I'm not this isn't anything I'm not saying that isn't true. I've been there and I lived it. But for advice for Sam Betha specifically and the guys that I know in regards to the Bethan community, you got to understand why you're putting Sam Betha on your chest. There's history behind that, right? You got to understand that you are representing a culture that has ultimately put blood, sweat, and tears on the line for that school, right, and for their family. We're not without. That's not a school that comes from. We don't have the best of. Oh, we're getting paid like LaSalle and Ateneo, right? We go there because we know at the end of the day that is a school that gives us opportunity to have a great career, even if it's basketball or not. So you go in there, you put pride into that. Make sure you're going to school. Make sure you get your degree. Make sure you're staying focused on what the whole goal is getting your degree, making sure you're playing for your school, making sure you sit down and evaluate why you're doing the things that you're doing. Because it's very important to understand that that can be your last game. And I say that to be completely honest. That could be your last game. That could be your last. You probably will never play basketball again after graduating. It's happened, right? So anything that you do in there, don't put pressure on yourself. Study the game. Understand that there's that this is a fun game, man. This is fun, but it's more fun when you dedicate yourself to it. Not just saying, "Oh, I play for Sam Betha," right? There's plenty of players who play for Sam Betha. I played for San Beda, bro. Robert played for San Beda. Basetta Mayer played for San Beda, right? We all play for San Beda, and we all have different careers now, right? But the thing is that when you put that on, you understand that you are putting yourself in a standard of the Davon Potts, of Robert Bullock, of Basetta Mayer, of shoot, I'm missing names.
Olad
Goodness.
Yogun.
Maybe.
There's a lot.
There you go. Yep. See what I'm saying? There's so many different players that have chosen to dedicate themselves to the school and to themselves in regards to helping the team. And but the one who got bloodied up, man, salute to you, sir. That right there was something I give my props to, because you have my respect when it comes to, hey, I will go to war and I will lose an arm and I'll come back and play to make sure that we still win and we still get things done. That right there, that's the Robert Bullocks and the Davon Potts of the world. I would do that. I would give my heart to it. You can be my teammate any day. Hey, shoot, if there's any chance I come back and I see you, let me know. Because like I said, you might. I got business, so you could probably come work with me. So who knows, right? But those are things I remember. Is I remember guys who will be willing to die and put their blood on the line for their brothers. That's who I vouch for. So that's what
And
I
you know
love.
what? You know what? Peter Alfaro, that was his name. He's the captain.
Mm,
He's the captain of that team. And
yep.
after that injury, a couple of games later, he actually also hit his head.
Mm,
Yeah, he hit his head. He missed the game, but he came back immediately. And I was like,
mm,
no, I'm. He They took a precaution to just observe him for a game.
mm.
Um, and but he was still there. He was in street clothes. He was still there. He was engaged with his teammates.
Yep.
And I think people, for me, like I really echo what you just said. Like Peter, uh, really does a great job of leading this team, and
Right.
I agree. There is a history of putting on a San Beda jersey. There is a responsibility in that, and we've been talking about this even when you were playing. Like, remember when I told you when I said, "Oh, you're wearing number 16? Oh shit,
I didn't know
that's
what
it,
that was. Yeah, I had no clue.
bro." Yeah, like, oh shit, that's Borgia Amita's number. It's like,
Orgy, yes.
and you're like who's
Yeah.
Borgia Amita? I was like, bro, that he's like a god here. He's like
Yeah,
he
for
has a
sure.
money. He's a mighty kid and shit. It's like, but yeah, no, I was you made your own name with number 16, but
Yeah,
that's the thing. I think to like connect what you said with Gilas and schools like San Beda, people remember you
for sure.
regardless of what
Yeah,
happens with your career. They remember what you did for the school, and there is a pride
Yeah.
in playing for that team.
for sure.
Yes. Yes, there is a high expectation of winning. And if you don't meet that expectation, you're gonna hear it.
Oh
You're
yeah,
gonna
for
you're
sure.
gonna hear it. You're gonna
For
hear
sure.
it. So, but that comes with the culture because some Beta fans, like, they kind of remind me of these East Coast or Midwest teams. Like, they're gonna love you when you're good, but they're gonna hate you to your guts if you're not doing well.
Yeah.
And yeah, man. So like
It's just
that's
crazy
so
because um a couple of things. I remember when my grandfather died that first year, and
yeah,
I
I do.
still played, right? And Jamaica was telling me, he was like, "Hey, you can. I want you to. I want you to sit out." And I said, "Nope, I'm not sitting out." Because I was like, at the end of the day, first of all, I was thinking about my brothers. My brothers actually was, my talking about the Bevan players at that time. They saw me coming out when I. It's funny because I usually check my phone in practice, and not because I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the team. They know I communicate with my people in the States in regards to how I can, because if there was an emergency, I need to know, right? Um, so I would check my phone just to kind of see, hey, I was looking at my phone and I saw, hey, my mom was like, hey, you need to call me. And I remember going to the locker room. She was like, yeah, your grandfather passed away. And I was hurt because I felt like we had unfinished conversations, right? That never got repaired. And you know, the at Phil Oil Arena at that time, they did a solid for me in regards to, respecting my grandfather when I was, before the game happened. Um, there was just, that's what I'm saying is like I knew what Sam Bethel meant to me at that time, the players in regards to the coach, and because I know my grandfather would have told me the same thing. Even if he passed away, he'll be like, you're gonna play. I don't care what I'm dealing with, you're gonna play because those are your brothers, that's your coach, that's your school. And even if I scored 2 points, it wouldn't have mattered, right? He was like, you're gonna play. And it was it was it was great, man. And on top of that, like I said, I think I was trying to piggyback off the second thing. Oh, and knowing Sam Bethel, like I said, yeah, I think when we do lose was because we were trying to go undefeated that year, right? The first year, and we lost one game. Oh, people were just, I wouldn't say turning, but it was just like, man, people were just talking shit. And I was just like, even I was like, come on, man, like this is one game. In my mind, I was like, this is one game. You guys are really about to push the narrative that we're, oh, this is gonna turn and Jamaica. And it's funny because like we love Jamaica. It's funny, but I guess the community didn't like him. That's why he left. And I was just like, and that's why it was so sad that after that first year, because when he told us he was going to National University, we all looked at each other like, what? Like, why? And 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 the thing was is that everybody pushed him out, like everybody in the community. I was like, why would you push this man away after he won a championship? That doesn't make any sense, and Jamaica felt like, hey, I don't belong here. And you know, man, Jamaica, man, to this very day, because even Jason Perkins hits me up from time to time, and he's all like, "Man, Jamaica can't stop talking about you even after years." And I was just like, "Cuz he knows, he just knows, he knows." And what's so weird about this man is that I told Jamaica if he ever was going to be a head coach, I would go back and play for him. I would drop everything and go play for that man, you
Mm.
know. And but Jamaica hit me up. He was like, "Nah, man, you're doing well what you're doing. Just stay there. Continue doing what you're doing, and we'll just have communications. We'll talk." And but there's just certain people like you, Paulo. There's certain people that you actually will go to war for in regards to, hey, I'll do anything for you, vice versa, right? Because it's that same respect. And um, I wish that certain people, especially men, have better relationships with each other because, it's that whole ego and alpha situation in regards to how things work in the business world. But, it's hard to find when you actually have good people and really keep them close because of the whole dynamic of the world that's going on. But, I, like I said, I appreciate you, man. There's a lot of things that, now that I'm on the other side of the world, but if you ever need me, man, I got you, and I'm not afraid to say that on any podcast or any recording because I feel like there's people who really need to understand that basketball is great, but we all die one day, man. Basketball is
Yeah.
not going to be forever. Basketball is not going to be the definition of your life. You're gonna stop playing one day. You're gonna stop, analyzing it the same way that you did when you were 16, right? It's gonna be the same. It's gonna change, but the relationships always stay the same. You know what I'm saying? The relationships always stay the same. If I hit up, I can hit up you within a year, and it's the same conversation, right?
I know.
It's gonna be the
Yeah.
same. If I hit up Bullock within a year, he'll know. If I hit up JV Mokon, if I hit up Raj Tonko, if I hit up Downside, if I hit up Jamaica, if I hit up all these guys later on, they know because of what we did in San Beda in the same respect. This dude went to war for me. I'm gonna do anything for this man. And if we need to have a conversation, we'll talk. So
Mm.
that's where things change, and that's where if you can come back after a certain period of time, you already know you've earned respect within your people. You know what I'm saying? Because if you can't do that, you didn't do anything, right? That's the whole thing. The whole thing to like. It's easy to be liked. It's easy to be liked. It's harder to earn respect. That's how I lived, right? You're gonna respect me. You may not like me, but you're gonna respect me, right? The guys who are my opponents, they always came up to me, love you, man, but I fucking hate you on the court, right? That's fine. You
Yeah.
respect me though, right? It's going that's how, but I feel like that's how everybody should live. You know what I'm saying? It's like because I can't be liked by everybody. If I do, then I'm gonna be miserable, right? But if I know that at the end of the day, you can respect me and we can live and we can coexist. I'm cool with that. You know what I'm saying? Because we're not always going to see eye to eye, but I'm always gonna make sure I give you the same respect. You gotta do the same for me. It's just that simple.
Yeah, exactly.
Life is
And
simple.
just to say then this, my friendship with Devon really like we were both in really difficult situations,
Yeah.
especially in the second year. In your second year, I was
Man,
trying to figure things out. You were trying to figure things out, and I just love where we are both right now.
bro.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you later what you're up to right now, but yeah, I remember those moments when hanging out in that room in Second Street. Um, oh no, Third Street. In Third Street.
Third. Yeah. I was
Third
about to
Street.
correct you, but I know you were in a
Yeah,
moment.
Third
But go
Street.
ahead.
Yeah. That I remember you used to get so mad with the laundry people because they keep stealing your shit.
Man, every laundry person, they always kept stealing my jerseys. They kept stealing. It's funny because Sam, I would literally have to go to the team manager. I'm like, man, they stole my practice jersey. And they're like, what? They're like, I need another practice jersey. I'm sorry. They would steal my stuff. They would steal my workout stuff. They would and then I come to
I
find out
remember this.
I
I
remember no,
remember.
what's
Yeah.
so messed up. I remember this because my practice jersey, my 16 practice jersey. This was 2 weeks before. This was 2 weeks before we went to the finals. Somebody took it and sold it for like 5,000 pesos, man. I was so upset about that. I was like, how? Like, because I saw him walking down the street, and I was like, what? I was like, how did you get that? I was like, and then I thought about, I was like, my freaking laundry. So I had somebody who spoke in Tagalog speak to me. They were like, yeah, I bought this for 5,000, man. Does it fit me? I was like, does it fit you? I want it back. I was like, I need it for practice. You guys got, I was literally practicing in like t-shirts. It was so
I
bad. I
remember
was
that.
like, man, what is going on?
And remember this when one time we went to pick up your laundry and one of the laundry guys was wearing your shit.
Oh my God. I was like, are you kidding me right now? I was like,
Oh
I'm
my
literally right here. He's just like, here you go. I'm like, can I get my jersey back? And he's like, no. I'm like, wow. I'm like, I'm not, because here's the thing. I didn't have so next thing you know, I think after the fourth stealing of my merchandise, I just ended up getting like a portable washer and I just started doing it myself. I was like, this is crazy.
bro, I remember that like you were had a
It's
washing
so
machine.
bad. I
I
was
helped
like, dog, they keep stealing my stuff. Like, this is getting so bad. Because remember, I was trying different places. It wasn't just that
yeah.
one downstairs. It was another place. They stole it. I went to another place. They stole it. So I was like, oh my gosh, you guys are just stealing my stuff because now you guys are figuring out who it is. I was like, this
Yeah.
is. And what's worse is that I was actually having other people like either teammates go and drop it off for me because of course I suck. I stuck out like a sore thumb. So
Yeah.
I was like, so even then, but then they saw the jersey and they were like, wait a minute, 16. Okay, boom. Okay, we know who that is. And the boom. So I was like, oh my gosh, like you guys are
Bro,
always
that was so
doing
funny.
stuff.
I was like, bro, the laundry guy, your shit.
Man, I was getting so upset. I was like, every time because they would bundle it together and I would unravel it. I'm like, wait a minute, where's my jersey? He's like, where is my jersey at? I can't. And then I would walk in and they would get so mad at me. Come on, where's your jersey? I'm like, they stole it. I was like,
Yeah,
I can't, like, what am I supposed to do? They were like, yeah, you're supposed to come with a practice jersey. I'm like, I don't have one because they stole it. My
I
God.
remember I remember one time I came up to your place and they like you were so heated. Like, what's up? Bro, they stole my warmers, they stole my socks, they
Man,
stole my
they
jersey.
stole so much stuff. It was ridiculous. And I had
Bro,
to go figure out how to replace all that stuff.
it
I was
was
like,
so
oh
funny.
my gosh.
At the time it was not funny, but looking back, it's hilarious.
It's
But
funny, but it's like, man, at that time I'm like, dude, I'm not getting I don't have money. Like, don't
I know, I
like sit
know.
there and act like I have money to replace this stuff. And they don't have money
Bro.
to replace this either. So I'm like, oh my gosh, it was getting bad. It was
But
so
yeah.
bad.
But yeah, now that transitioning down to that and close this out. Like,
Yeah.
what are you up to now? Like, what are you doing? What have you been up to?
I am a business owner. I'm not gonna say where, when, because there's a lot of confidentiality that I don't want to disclose because of course there's there's locations that I don't want to put out there. I own a business and businesses, right? I work with adults with special needs. That's something I'm very proud of because my oldest little brother is autistic, and it kind of brought me into that lane of, hey, you know what? A lot of us are complaining about, man, I gotta wake up and go to work, and some of these guys are looking at you like, man, I wish I could just walk, right? I wish I can speak. I wish I can, and that's why my mentality changed when I started working with adults with special needs, because I'm like, man, we complain about the littlest things, right? These guys are in wheelchairs. These guys are nonverbal, right? They can't speak. They can't. Some of them can't eat. Some of them can't communicate the same way, right? And it humbled me because I work maybe 12, 15-hour days depending on what the business and the structure is. um it humbled me more because I look at a lot of these other guys, like I said, who have the talent, and I look at them, I'm like, if you only really knew, right, what other people go through, you would appreciate life a little bit more, right? um I'm married now. Actually, it's funny because my wife is from the Philippines, and she actually just got here October 17th. you know Proud of her. And she will be a future business owner with my help and expertise, obviously. um Life is on the up and up, man. And like I said, it's the realization of, hey, there's more to life than just being this. There's a different life when it comes to being outside the fame and the popularity and the money, right? Because now when you do get money in the PBA or whatever case may be, it was never about the money. It was about, hey, how are you going to structure, and how are you going to provide? How are you going to not provide for your family, but even for yourself? Because when you're doing so many different things for everybody else, are you even taking care of yourself mentally, right? Um, that's what I'm doing now. Like I said, business, and like I said, just I'm married now, and like I said, I'm happy with everything that's going on. Like I said, my relationships with you, my relationships with my former teammates. But the biggest advice I can give people outside of basketball is, man, just make sure you're taking care of yourself, man. It's really important in regards to making sure you have a routine, making sure that you are um you're consistently just being healthy, like internally, out, externally, making sure that you have great people around you when there's times where you just need to release in regards to just being more frugal with your energy and your time, right? Because you can't do everything. And for NCAA, UAP, guys in the pros, even because even the guys in the pros, they ask me a bunch of questions like, hey, how do you do this? How do you get your credit up? There's all these different dynamics because I'm in it now, right? Is that, you know, always know that when the lights are gone, right? When the hype is done, when all that stuff is over, you still got to come home. What do I mean by that? You still got to come home, bro. You still got to come home. You got your family at home. You got your peace at home. You got your Adobe at home, right? You got your entertainment at home. You're always going to come home and go to sleep. So if you don't understand that concept, and people are going to like really think about what I said, you're always going to come home. You can go to the club, you can have a time of your life, you can go on vacation, do whatever you want to do, right? You're always going to come home. Always protect your peace, always protect who you bring in your house, right? Always protect your energy and how you do things at home, right? All that stuff matters because as much as you want to think that the hype is going to live forever, it doesn't, right? It's not. And you're gonna come home and it's gonna be peaceful and it's quiet, right? It's quiet in here. There is no Mr. Fourth Quarter. There is no, oh, I'm gonna go play my NBA game down at, Warrior Center or whatever the case may be, right? There is none of that. And even with Steph and all those other guys and all those other NBA players are gonna say that they're gonna agree the same way I'm gonna tell you now. You're gonna come home and it's gonna be quiet. It's gonna be pitch quiet. No, you're not gonna hear a sound. And that's how it should be, right? Because that's how life works. Everything's going to die off. You'll have this hiatus, miss the fourth quarter, and the next thing you know, you get drafted. And then next thing you know, 3 years later, COVID happens, right? And you have a choice to make. Do I stay here and not get paid and wait for that next thing after COVID. And that was, that stuff is hard. That stuff is difficult and it hits you quick because that time is very fast. So as time is not on your side, make sure you have great people around you. Make sure your home is at peace, and just make sure you're taking care of yourself, man. Because at the end of the day, this is what life is. Life is always going to be about how you are going to structure your routine, how you're going to structure your daily life, and who you're going to let in it, because you can't let everybody in. So that's how it works, man.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for coming over here to the podcast. Thank you for being our first guest. And it's been a thrilling experience, man. Especially reliving your days in the NCAA. Such a ride.
Sure.
Anything you want to say to the Bedon community, to the NCAA community before we end this podcast?
Go submit the fight, man. Like I said, you guys have been a great community. You guys have welcomed me with open arms. There isn't a time I don't, there isn't a day that goes by I don't think about you guys in regards to how that whole thing played out. My Bedlam brothers who, were my teammates, you guys, you guys are extremely loved on my end in regards to if you guys ever need me for anything in regards to just advice and certain things that you need to structure in the future. You can reach me on Facebook or anything in that regard. Instagram, like I said, I'm never a person that's closed off, right? I love helping people to enrich and enhance themselves. But at the same time, I love everything about that community in regards to, and I know I went away and kind of disappeared into a certain extent, which I had to, of course, but, the Bedlam community, I can't say enough, but, you guys have been awesome. And like I said, I have nothing but love for you guys, and I appreciate all you guys have done for me in regards to the community, the team. It's been a great experience. And like I said, anybody coming into that community, welcome to the brotherhood, welcome to the community. And like I said, you'll be loved in this space. So enjoy it. And like I said, build the connections, build the relationships, and everything will look fine. Rest in peace to Sudan, man.
Oh, yeah.
That's one thing I will say. Rest in peace to Sudan. Rest in peace to Sudan. Okay. We got to pay respect to him. Rest in peace to Sudan for sure. Especially that's one dude when I was playing 3x3. That dude was boosting me throughout that 3x3 stint when I was playing 3x3, right? So we gotta give respect where respect is due. But yeah, any of those guys, anybody that's been in that community, if I know I didn't mention certain names and my teammates because I've been away for so long, but you guys are all my brothers, man. They know that too. They all know that. There's other my brothers, and you guys can always hit me up anytime, man. So even the Bedlam community, you guys can hit me up anytime. I may not respond as quickly as possible, but you know what I mean. You can hit me up, and we'll see what happens from there. So, I mean, you guys were hitting me up a little too much back when I was over there, so I had to kind of let that die down. I kind of had to let that die down a little bit. So I was like, it's getting a little too much. I can't respond to everything. So.
All right.
Man, you got me missing Sue, bro. You got me missing Sue all of a sudden. Damn.
Yeah, Sudan, man. You got to pay respect to Sue. So rest in peace to Sudan, man. It's for real.
So yeah, if any Red Lions are listening, current Red Lions, hit up Paolo. He will tell you everything about the game. That's one thing we've learned today. He studies the game.
If you want to learn, if you want to know more about Davon Potts, ask Paolo. Don't ask me. He'll tell you everything from A to Z. That dude knows my whole Sam Bethel journey. He knows the whole thing. It's a story. It's a very interesting story because it's like, hey, you reached the ground and you went up, and then the things kind of flattened out. Then you had a really interesting second year, and then you got drafted. Like Paolo knows everything, man. So, like I said, I try to forget.
I met you.
I try to forget sometimes, man. I try to stay away from that part of my life. Even though people hit me up sometimes, I'm like, man, come back to the PBA, and I'm like, I make a little bit more than PBA players though. So I'm like, I can't really, you know what I'm saying? If I go there, then it would have to make sense. So if it doesn't make sense, I'm not gonna put my body through that anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's
okay.
It's just
and I remember that like 1 week. We met a week after you came in.
Yeah, at Amos.
Yeah, Amos place.
Oh yeah, shout out to
yeah,
Amos, amazing playground, right?
Yeah, Amos.
And I was
Yeah.
like, and ever since then, we've hung out a lot, and I was like,
Yeah.
this is cool, and in it, we've maintained that friendship. So yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, that, yeah.
Absolutely. Like I said, man,
But
we brothers for life, man. Like I said, just because
uh,
I'm on the other on
same,
this side,
same,
it don't mean that you can't hit me up, bro. So
same.
you already know what that is.
Thanks, man.
Hey, if we
Always.
go to the finals this season, come over. We're gonna treat you the ticket. We're gonna buy
You
you
know
the
what?
ticket.
You know what? When is the dates actually? I'm actually thinking of when are the dates?
It's probably gonna be in December.
In December?
There's no dates yet.
I might have to do that actually.
Ooh.
Because you want to know why? Because I actually took a break from all of my business stuff in December too, so I might be able to fly over there and see something.
Ooh.
So
Oh,
Yeah,
we
I
have to
might
go to
be.
the finals now. We have to go
if
to the
okay, we
finals
need
now.
to
Hey,
go to the
hey,
finals.
like
We
I
need.
said, I don't mind giving some of those guys advice, man. But it's just like, hey, I actually could if it's possible for sure.
You could really help a lot of these guys right now, honestly. But yeah, anyway, yeah. I hope we go to the finals now that they're coming back. But anyway, thanks, Devon. Like, dude, this is going back. This feels like 2017 again or
Yeah, man.
2016 all over again. So
That's
thanks for
crazy.
that.
It's only been 6 years ago, man. That's the crazy part. It's not even that long ago. It feels so long
I
ago
know.
for me though.
I know. It
It
feels
feels
like a
so. That's how
lifetime ago.
fast that goes, though. It's like, man, I feel like that was forever ago. And that's the crazy part is I flew on that plane and I just never been in the country and I just took a leap of faith and things worked out. Right?
Oh, no.
That's the crazy part about life, man. Sometimes you got to just jump ship and see where it goes.
No.
Oh yeah,
So
Paolo's gonna smoke you in NBA, in 2K when you go back.
No. He's
oh,
I hate playing against
oh
Bro, he
oh my god.
you know what he would
Why did you
do?
do
Okay,
that? I'd be
I know
like,
we're supposed
bro.
to end this, but I hate playing
Look,
against this guy.
look. He's like, why did you do that? Be like, bro, I'm the GOAT. Like, you already know I'm the GOAT, so don't even question the
Oh, I
GOAT.
hate that. I hate it. He he would like go around the court and make stupid shots. I'm like, I'll be so pissed. Like,
No, I would literally yell if anybody was like, duck on you.
I know. He would
Oh,
treat me like I was a fucking point guard or Letran or fucking one of these schools, and we're like in a confined space, so it's louder for me. And I'm like, bro, you're making Paul Pierce shit twice now.
yeah. Yeah,
All
man, those are good times for sure. Those are good times, man,
All right,
for sure.
that's that's our time for today. Again, thank you, Devon.
Yes,
Thank you, Paolo.
absolutely.
Shout out to the
thanks,
better
man.
community, Sir Sean Ramon, for always listening to our podcast, and to all Bedans and NCAA fans, UAAP fans who listen to us. And that's it for the Upperbox Podcast. Thank you, guys. Bye bye.